Hello everyone, here we are again for EDF, Insect Armageddon. This is part 3-3. Basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be hanging around these ships and blowing up ants. So basically, nothing new from the rest of the game. Pretty much par for the course on this one. One of the differences is that this is actually, I don't know, this is the last of the fun later levels. A lot of it becomes, the next two are more of a pain than pleasure. Which would you prefer, pain, pleasure, or weird punishment? For those of you who get that reference, I am not sure if you may be in the wrong age category, or you may be in the absolutely right age category. I think that Adventure Time has officially hit Invader Zim levels of being trendy. And it's like, yeah, it's for kids, but Hot Topic is selling it to people older than kids, and they very well know it. It's just a fun show. There's a lot of kind of like D&D sort of references to it, where it feels good watching it from just like a gamer culture perspective. Then there's Bravest Warriors, which is like the more adult version of... Oh, almost ran out of energy. That would have been embarrassing. Like a more adult version of Adventure Time. Same creator. It's a YouTube exclusive series. It's pretty good. I liked it. And, alright, we are just going to forget him, we're going to nuke his corpse, then we'll revive him. There we go. Corpse nuked, and now he's up. So yeah, basically the plot of this chapter, somewhere in one of these ships is the magical MacGuffin that's going to let us destroy all of the Ravagers. It's up to us to find it, so that way we can use it and save the day. So basically the exact same plot as Gears of War. Except, unlike Gears of War, in the third act, there is absolutely nothing tragic or redeeming about it. This is actually more mindless destruction. I know a lot of people, they look at that series and they're like, yeah, it's a dude bro, just shoot 'em up, chest high walls, all that good stuff. But the third game actually had a really good moment in it, sort of near the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but suffice to say, it was one of the few times in games, and I went back and I watched this the other day just to make sure, where a scene was put together so well that it got me actually emotionally invested in the game. But this is also coming from the same series that gave us Who Wants Toast and Where's My Wife. So maybe it was a fluke. Might have just been a mistake on that one. But I think story in games is definitely something that's currently underrated. A lot of people put some good work into it, but I think, I don't know, The Walking Dead is a really good example, but it barely qualifies as a game. Basically, it's an interactive novel as rendered through a video game engine, and there's really nothing wrong with that, because I'd be willing to pay for it, but like I was saying before, like with Dear Esther, where if you pay the price for a movie, if you go in with that expectation, you'll enjoy it a lot more than the expectation for a game. You can't just have a 2-hour video game and expect people to pay $20 for it in this day and age. Because people, well, what about the replay? What if I want to, you know, and then the controls in Dear Esther are crap, there's nothing engaging, there's no challenge to it, it's just a walking simulator, so why would I even bother? It's like, because shut up, because it's a good story, that's why. And it's not even a good story, it's vague and confusing and deliberately artsy, so there's really not a whole lot going on. Oh, I'm going in the complete wrong direction. There are enemies over here, so I just decided to kill them. That'll show me for running my mouth about video games. Makes it so I'm not actually running my brain on them. But I saw a lot of people complaining about the value of I think it's Beyond Two Souls, because the creator basically came out and said you shouldn't play this game more than once because it would kind of ruin the magic behind it. I'm like, I see where he's coming from with that, but man, people are going to rip that apart. Basically, in order to create a game where you get to create choices and the player has to participate in those, you either have to sacrifice the length of the game by making it incredibly short, so that way you can have 20 different branching paths, but each one only lasts an hour, or you have to create it, what I like to refer to as the anal beads school of design, because when you put it all together, it looks like a set of anal beads, where there are larger areas that you can kind of diverge, go in different directions, but it all comes back to a singular choke point before moving on to the next bead. And that's basically what they have to do with these choices. You have to have some freedom, some way of making a decision, and it has to feel like it really has an impact, but then you go back and you get shoveled, steam trained, whatever you want to call it, pushed, railroaded back into the main storyline of, okay, so it didn't matter if you killed this guy or saved this guy, this is what's going to happen next. He was dead anyway, kind of stuff. But still, you get the feeling like your decisions had an impact, so by going through and replaying it, it diminishes the impact that your first playthrough had. And for a game like The Walking Dead, I could see where that you wouldn't be playing it to get a story impact, you'd be playing it from a scientific-ish perspective of, well, if I do this, then this is what happens, and this is how it works, and this is all what's behind the scenes. And behind the scenes stuff is never fun, man. Just don't do it to yourself. It's not worth it. So I think The Walking Dead will get a better reception overall because it was, I think, $20, $25 for the whole package, and I think I got it for like $7.50 on Steam sale because PC. But Beyond Two Souls coming out for $60 because they got all that ridiculous talent for it. They got Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe. They didn't just hire Nolan North and call it a day. And then all the graphics, they tried to just pour that into it. And while I don't think that graphics are the most important for the story, because there are plenty of games that have a great story that came out on the NES or the SNES, especially. Like, my go-to is always Final Fantasy VI, and it's been like a decade since I've played it, so I don't remember enough of the story beats to actually give any reasons why. Because usually my mind's like, Super Mario, Super Metroid. It's like, yeah, story, but that's not that same level of storytelling that we're getting from Walking Dead, Two Souls. But you can have good story with not bad graphics, but worse graphics. I guess To the Moon, which is another game that I want to get to. Like, I've heard it's really good, told in kind of the older, not 8-bit, but pixel graphics. So it's still possible, and I think that there's certainly an uncanny valley aspect where once it gets too close, I'm not sure how Beyond comes in.
Nothing. Damn it.
It's not on this chip. But basically where you can tell that they're not quite human, and it's more creepy watching them try and make faces than it is to emotionally move you with it. But I don't know. I think that if we get better graphics, make it more like actual people, then it'll have a better impact for it. I think there's a balance to be had between graphics and fun. Because I forget if I was talking about Skyrim on this, yeah. Because like that, I think as far as graphically, if you're going around and if you're exploring and you're dungeon crawling, oh, by the way, come up to this road like right here and then turn around, I think is the play. Because there's a fixed enemy spawn at some point. I'm pretty sure that it's right up here. Might be one more road down. Yep, okay. That triggers a Mantis. Mantis is way easier to fight back here by the ship. You've already got existing health drops, so just retreat a little bit, take them out. But yeah, a lot of people say, you know, like, well, they're focused too much on graphics, but I think for exploration games, that's the point. You're not interacting with characters, and you're not interacting with, you know, all these deep social dramas that really need to be. You're just interacting with the world. Like, half the fun of Skyrim was just going around, walking, and seeing what they had to offer, and fighting off dragons, and everybody knows that it wasn't the combat that was fun, except for me, and that's because I'm a sociopath. So I think there is something to be said about having all that great kind of detail and graphical fidelity in a game. Just make sure that it fits the game. That's the thing I think a lot of people don't really get, developers included, of making sure that the graphical style that you have actually works for what you're putting forward. Like another indie game that I absolutely despise is Proteus, because Proteus, it has this 8-bit graphical style with the same kind of, oh, it's an open world exploration game. You just go and you look at stuff, and it's like, yeah, and it all looks like crap because it's in 8-bit. What were you thinking? you can't tell, like, oh, is that a tree or is that a bug? Is it supposed to be a butterfly? And it's all chiptune music, except it's not, and they don't get why people like pixelated stuff. It's because it's simple. Sometimes it looks pretty. That's what you should be working on. But I feel like I had somewhere else I was going with all that, but graphics are good sometimes. End of story. There we go. Oh, hey, look, a weapon we already had. What are the odds? Pretty good, I'd say. I believe this puts us on the 4th ship now, after taking out those mantises. So, almost there. Yeah. I do like me some story-based games. You want to talk about a good story-based games with terrible graphics, look no further than Nier. As soon as that game comes by for PC, that's going to be... Yay, we found the MacGuffin. If that game ever came out for PC, I'd pay like $80 for it.
Okay, good.
Don't even care.
There it is.
It was an awesome game.
The area's clear.
I'm actually a little bit tempted.
Picking up
There's
some
news that
seismic activity all
Drakengard, which
around you.
is the... I think it's... Nier is a sequel to Drakengard 2, I believe, that they exist in the same world. So I'd actually be really curious, because 3 is coming out, I think at some point in Japan? It was either announced or is coming out soon or something, but basically it'll only be for PS3. I don't think it's going to be coming Xbox side, so it might be worth to buy a PS3 for that, and we get caught up on Metal Gear Solid, things like that. Oh, there's a good example of a story-based game. Metal Gear Solid 3. That game was fantastic and also crazy. It switched back and forth between whether it wanted to be emotionally touching or balls to the walls insane, which is good for a game. Alright, that takes out all of the enemies for this level, except for the 3 that are still over there, so we'll just send a few rockets their way while we move to the LZ to get out of here. And that means that we make it to the least fun level in the entire game. That is called Mushrooms for next time, so I will see you guys there. After the stat screen. Stat screen. And no new weapons, no surprise. See you guys.